And these word problems are just terrible, all right? Just terrible. So we'll start out with this first one, Dolores. I'll let you read it. Can everyone see it? And we're going to start with Michael Ragoza. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm going to let you read it. I'm going to take your time. And I'm going to ask you what you want to do. Poor Michael's the first gets the word problem.
Dolores sold candy by the pound. First person who came into the store bought
You don't have to read out loud unless you want to.
Oh, okay.
I'm happy to have you do it. I want you to just read it to yourself. Yeah, because I want you to actually try and process what needs to happen here. And you know what? Let's do this. Let's get 3 people on this. Hayden. Where's Hayden? And then Robert Farley. Right there. Okay, so the 3 of you get a shot at this. And we'll see who comes up. When you have what you want to do, just let me know. But don't tell me what to do. You think you know what to do with this? Okay. Robert, I'm waiting on you. And Michael, waiting on you also. If you think you know what to do on number 11, start looking at number 12, because you might get called for 12. You got anything yet, Mike? Okay. Okay. Let's just keep in mind, everyone, that I want you to make mistakes. I mean, this is what learning is about, making mistakes and then learning from that mistake and just not making the mistake on the test. So in class, if I call on you and you tell me the wrong thing to do, well, now you know not to do that, right? And you learn from that. Robert, you got something yet? You have an idea of what you think you want to do with it? Yes. You don't have to. The only time that becomes problematic is if you have subtraction. Because, like, for example, like, what would happen if I said 5 1/4 minus 3 3/4? That becomes a little bit messy because you're taking 3/4 away from 1/4, which means you have to start like getting into those numbers. So if you go to improper first, you don't have to worry about that. So it's kind of up to you, but be careful. All right, I think that's sufficient time. So now, just make one of those. Don't look at their names. Robert, we're going with you first. What is your approach on this? Do you have one? Don't be shy. We don't care. Okay, so turn these into improper. You did that already? What did you turn this one into? 9/4. Everyone good with that? Okay, and then what about the other one, Robert? I like your name, by the way. 23/4. Okay, so you've taken the numbers in the problem and you've converted them over. Now, what math did you do with those? Adding them. That's it? Okay. So let's check with Michael. Michael, are you on board with Robert here or not?
Yeah.
You guess? What's that? It's okay. It's okay. That's why we're doing it. All right, Hayden, are you on board with this? Yes? Okay, so first person came in, bought 2 1/4 pounds of gumdrops. The other person came in, bought 5 3/4 pounds of jelly beans. How many pounds did Dolores sell to the first 2 customers? So we want to add up those 2 weights. See how much it is. Now, you had the same denominator here, right? So just went across. 32 over 4, and that just happens to be 8 pounds. LBS for pounds, that's our notation. So 8 pounds. That sounds fair. You should, for all word problems, your answer should make sense and answer the question. So if it's asking how many pounds of candy did they sell, you want to put 8 pounds. You know, 8 over, yeah, you can do 8 over 1, but. All right, is that all right? Okay, I think this is a good place for us to stop, but I stop with this. I have another question I want to ask the class. Okay, so I'm going to put a problem up here, and let's see what y'all come up with. Wait, hold on, I'm doing this not the way I want. What is that? So we'll just give everyone a second, and we're going to take a vote. Where'd my rubber band go? And while that's up there, I forgot to mention to everyone that I have a sign-in sheet, okay, that's going to hopefully get passed around every day if I remember. And it should have your name here and then a column for the date. Just initial. It's really tiny square that I left you there, but just try an initial in there. And if this doesn't come around, just remind me, because I know I'll forget. All right, and I'll try and start it at different places in the room, but we'll start there today. All right, let's take a vote here on this. Who has an answer? Okay, 4. All right, anybody have a different answer? 1. Anybody have a different answer? 4 and 1, right? That's the most common answers I'm going to get. So let's actually do a poll here. 4, raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10. 10? 10 people. And then where are my ones? I don't know. 12. Who didn't vote? Someone didn't vote. All right. So for the people who said 4, who wants to tell me why or how they got 4?
Multiply first, then you divide, following order of operations.
Wait a minute. I'm saying for the person who got 4. 4?
8 times 2, then divide by 16.
Hold on. 8. So, okay. So you're saying do multiplication first. Hold on.
That's how I did it, because of parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add, subtract. So I multiplied 8 times 2.
And got
16.
Okay.
16 divided by 2 equals 4.
16 divided by 2. No, you did 8 times 2.
16 divided by 16 equals 4.
No. That's the 1. That's the 1.
Oh, never mind. So I didn't get 4.
Right? You got 1. Okay. Hold on. One of these is right and one of these is wrong, right? Okay. So let's look at the 2 different approaches that could have happened here. One approach is doing the multiplication first, right? If I do the multiplication first, so I'm going to say this is option A here, would be 16 divided by 8 times 2 first, that's 16. And 16 divided by 16 is 1, right? That's one way that I think people are getting 1. And then for this one, for the 4, I think what was happening was 16 divided by 8 first, right? Which gives you 2, and then 2 times 2 is 4. So Which way is correct? Who wants to argue their case? Why is B correct? You think A is correct? What?
No, I think B is correct.
You think B? You're going to argue the case?
Well, because I know the order of operations, but when it's that way, you have to sort of go through it. That's what I thought.
Okay, so there's this order of operations that we learn, and it's taught usually with that little thing right there, PEMDAS. Has everyone seen PEMDAS before? Yeah, okay, so the way normally, at least the way I was taught it was, and this might just be old school, but it was, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Anyone learn something else? Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. And that's the way it was drilled into my brain. And it meant I'm always supposed to do things in parentheses first, then I'm supposed to do exponents, then multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. And that's the way I learned it. And I was taught incorrectly because what they didn't tell me, or they didn't stress it to me enough, is that these two are actually equivalent operations. It's not multiplication before division. They're equal. It matters on how they appear in the problem. So you always will read it like a book from left to right. If you have multiplication division, you always go from left to right with them. So you actually have to do the division before you do the multiplication here. So you do this, get your 2, and then multiply by 2, and you should get 4. So more than half the class learned it the way I learned it, and should go get their money back. No. Right? So addition and subtraction work the same way. They're equivalent. You go left to right. So I just want to bring this up because I want to walk away today feeling that at least half the class learned something. All right? So everyone have a great day. Make sure you've signed in. Make sure you do your packet or get your packet by next week. Do your homework. Have a good weekend. See you Monday. If you're concerned about where you are, if you're in the wrong class, just